Recording this week's episode has been a little bit tough for me, just because I've been dealing with a lot of health anxiety stuff. So that's why this episode is out very, very late. I am literally recording this the day before I gotta go to work. So it is Friday, and this is going up hopefully today. So with that, I am going to push through my anxiety and I'm going to keep recording. This is like my fifth take, and I've already had a couple of mini panic attacks from my health anxiety. So I'm hoping I can push through it and actually get this one done. So with that out of the way, welcome to Divergence and Divine. My name is WIllspiration, and today, I think we are going to talk about a little more about the, anxiety or repetitive thoughts that can occur with autism. The reason why I say this is because before I got diagnosed with autism, I was just diagnosed with ADHD, and then my sister and my mom suspected that I had OCD like them. So I went and I got tested for OCD, but I did not end up meeting the criteria for OCD. Later, when I got diagnosed with autism, it turns out that autism can cause repetitive thoughts and behaviors, very much similarly to OCD. So essentially, it's what I was told was basically I have built-in OCD, but not really, because the repetitive thoughts and behavior associated with autism is not enough to also qualify for an OCD diagnosis. So I actually technically don't have OCD, but with how my brain and my health anxiety acts up, I kind of would argue to say otherwise. So next time I see my psych, I'm going to have her do an OCD evaluation, because that was my 2 psychs ago that did the OCD test that I did not qualify for. So I want to just do that. But yeah, anxiety, whether it be health anxiety, formerly known as hypochondria, which is like the worst anxiety that I have, social anxiety, generalized anxiety disorder, which I also have, but it's not as bad as my health anxiety, is very hard, especially when you have panic attacks. Or if you're like me, you have panic attacks and then you have an autistic meltdown because you're having a panic attack and you're overwhelmed. So the overwhelmingness and overstimulation of a panic attack causes you to have an autistic meltdown. So for me, a lot of the times when I have my panic attacks, they turn into autistic meltdowns and panic attacks, and it gets pretty bad. Like, I will sit there and cry anywhere from half an hour to an hour and a half nonstop, just literally bawling my eyes out, panicking. And then typically that's when the autism becomes more noticeable, because typically there'll only be one phrase that gets stuck in my head. Typically it's whatever I'm repeating to myself to try to calm myself down, which is usually telling myself that I'm okay. All the physical symptoms, which are literally just my muscles, the muscle tension, the constant tensioning and relaxing of muscles as I try to fight off my anxiety causes my muscles to ache. Sometimes my anxiety causes my brain to misfire, and I'll get burning sensations in my nerves and in my muscles because of the overstimulation from my brain. Sometimes I even get muscle spasms, and sometimes the muscle spasms, they don't hurt at all. They just, it feels like my muscles are vibrating. And then sometimes, I don't feel them vibrating, but it just kind of feels like someone is pinching the muscle. and then it causes like a burning sensation, like a burning and stinging sensation, like I literally just put something hot on my skin. Yeah, and typically that'll be enough to trigger it, and it's very exhausting and it's very hard, and it is very scary, especially when you live on your own and you're single and you don't have family around. And like the people that you, like the couple people that you know you can count on, also either live really far away or work different schedules or different days than you do. So like you're like really on your own when you have to face it. And it's scary. And I'm like, I don't, especially with my health anxiety, like with my hypochondria, it's like, I don't know what I'm going to do if something ever were to happen. Like, what am I supposed to do? Who's going to calm me down? What's not to say that, like, I have a panic attack into an autistic meltdown, and then the paramedics think that, I'm crazy, and then after I get whatever I need to have fixed at the hospital, then they go, okay, well, now that you're feeling better, we're going to go throw you on a psych ward because you're not mentally stable. And it's like, literally, I'm just autistic and ADHD with hypochondria. Like, I'm fine. Like, it's just, it just panic attacks and meltdown combo just does not look good to people. Specifically healthcare professionals, because then they think that you're crazy, but literally it's just overstimulation. Like, you're just overstimulated. Especially because, like, for me, I think that mental health hospitals are horrible. I've heard plenty of personal accounts from people, as well as accounts from, like, YouTubers that have been to mental health hospitals, and they're basically treated like, it's basically like jail almost. And then, like, on top of the fact that they don't separate the people that have, like, that shouldn't even be there, like people that should be in an actual psych ward instead of a mental health hospital, from the people that are in there for, self-harm and other things like that. So they put the actual crazy people in with the not crazy people. They're just having a hard time in life. And then, fights erupt. They're treated like shit. And it's like, it's bad. It's bad, and I never want to go to one. So, thankfully, my mental health is not that bad that I would ever need to go to one. But sometimes my panic attack meltdown combos kind of make me feel like someone would be like, yeah, you need to go to one. It's like, no, you need to learn that this is just normal for me. Like, once I'm done crying and I calm down and I sleep it off, then I'm fine. And then typically I won't have a major one like that for a while. Unless certain circumstances happen. But yeah, it's very hard. Because it's just like, even right now, I don't know if you guys can hear it in my voice, but like, I'm literally, like, my anxiety is still through the roof. And right now I'm not on any medications because so far I've had terrible luck with medication. So far, every anti-anxiety that I've tried has not worked. The only thing it does is it calms me down. If I were to give it a percentage, I'd say, like, it calms my anxiety down like 10%, and then just either makes me very angry and irritable, or just makes me not feel like myself. And no amount of playing with the dosage seemingly helps. It just increases the side effects more than actually what the medication's supposed to do. I tried smoking weed, but it's like, like it kind of helps, but then you also don't want to smoke too much because then it actually just makes it worse. So I'm kind of essentially forced to face it head on, and it is not going very well. That's something that, like, like, if you know me on a personal level, I might have brought it up before, and if I haven't, I'm sure I will at some point. But just for my mental sanity, I won't bring up the reasons why, and what caused this to take root and grow into this ginormous tree of anxiety that just feels impossible to uproot and get rid of. But I'm working on it. I'm working on it in therapy. But for me, it kind of is just I don't like talking about the core root and structure of what caused it to begin with, because I'm afraid of speaking it into existence. Essentially, for the spiritual side of this conversation, manifestation is essentially the art, power, ability, mindset, however you want to look at it, of essentially, speaking your truth and speaking what you want into reality, or even just thinking about it, and just keeping it in mind. So for me, I don't want to talk about what the root cause is, because I feel like those fears are going to become reality if I talk about it. And that's something that I know that I have to talk to my Reiki teacher about. She is my life coach. When she gets back, because she had something come up that she had to take care of, so I didn't get to do my 1 hour session with her this week. But I know she watches this, so that's just something that I gotta work on, because I don't want to, because my therapist says that the only way to meet it head on is to start speaking those fears and the specific words that trigger those fears, and just repeat it over and over and over and over. And for me, I'm I don't want to do that, because that's basically saying, that's inviting it to happen, and I don't want it to happen. So we're trying to figure out other solutions to take away the power that the thoughts have, so then that way I can finally live without having those fears constantly in my head. Keep them in the back of my mind, but shut them up where they don't affect me. So for example, obviously recording right now, this is my 5th take, and so far so good. This is, at this point, this is the longest that I've been able to do a recording for any of the takes that I've done so far. So that's pretty impressive. I know right now it says 14 and a half minutes, but with some of the trimming that I do, because sometimes I do have long pauses, especially when my anxiety, my health anxiety, is flaring up, because then typically I'm in my head battling my own thoughts, telling my health anxiety to shut up. So it may be shorter than that, but yeah, it's not exactly the greatest. For me, the only thing that calms me down is basically, as it stands right now, would be either having a significant other basically hug me and hold me while I have a panic attack, or having one of my parents basically do the same thing. Because the only thing that calms me down is basically a nice, big, long, tight hug, and being told that everything's okay. And no amount of clean bills of health from my PCP or an immediate care center is going to make my health anxiety go away. Just because any pain from anxiety that I feel will just make me spiral back into it. So it's basically I stopped going to doctors every single time I felt something, because it was the same thing. It's there's nothing wrong with you. If for whatever reason your symptoms get worse, go to the hospital, have them run imaging tests, etc., make sure that it's nothing serious. And then it's just kind of I know that's their generic response. That's what they're supposed to tell you, but like that doesn't exactly give me a vote of confidence as a hypochondriac. That's basically saying you're fine for now, but you know, you never know. But if it does, go get that checked out. And it's just like, that doesn't help me. It just makes it worse. But the one thing that I've been trying to do that I told my therapist that I was going to do yesterday is essentially just try to live alongside the thought, acknowledge it, but not give it power, because I know that was something that we had talked about almost a year ago. Actually, literally right around this time. I think it was literally like in January, like mid-January, when I finally tackled the hypochondria issue. And that's something I've been working on for almost a year, is just acknowledging the thought, letting the thought replay in my head over and over and over, and not giving it power, because it happens a lot when I'm sleeping. It happens a lot when I'm trying to sleep. And then sometimes, even if I don't like have a vivid dream, I just know that if I wake up sweating, and I wake up and like my stomach feels really acidy, and I feel like a little nauseated, and just I wake up and like some of my muscles are achy or like cramping when I wake up, it's because literally I was starting to have a panic attack in my dream, because those thoughts showed up and started repeating in my head. So even then, when I wake up from having those kinds of sleeps, I'll wake up and like almost start having a panic attack. And then I have to remind myself that that's the reason why I woke up, was because I was starting to have a panic attack in my sleep, and that I'm awake. And the first thing I do is like, I take off the covers, let all of that excess body heat that I built up from panicking out, flip my pillow to the cold side, and then I just, sit up, and then kind of just let my body cool off. And then if I need to, because usually when that happens, I have to use the bathroom, so I'll go use the bathroom, and then that kind of just that little, like those 10 steps to the bathroom from my bed kind of really helps calm me down, cool me off, gives my bed a couple minutes to cool off as well. And then usually when I come back, I'm usually pretty good from there, and then I'll be fine. But yeah, it's just a very constant struggle. It's always going to be a work in progress. I know for a lot of people watching this that are neurodivergent, like I'm sure that you guys are like on anti-anxiety and antidepressants that work for you, which is great, because especially if you don't have any of the mood swing side effects or anything that really affects your thought process or like your mood, like your or you're like anything emotional, because you guys are so lucky, because that you don't know how big of an edge that actually gives you on quelling your anxiety, because medication isn't meant to take away the problem. Medication is just meant to help aid in overcoming the problem. So even if you feel like your anxiety still isn't improving, but you feel like, okay, let me rephrase that. If you feel like your anxiety has improved but not to your liking, just know that medication is supposed to do that. It helps kind of level you out so that the remainder of what the medication can't do, you face in therapy. So between therapy and anti-anxiety and antidepressants, typically that's more than enough for you to be able to work on whatever is giving you your anxiety. If you have generalized anxiety, it helps keep that at bay. If you have social anxiety, then you work on that in therapy, and how to interact in the neurotypical world, and it's typically not as bad as it was before. Because anxiety is always going to be there. Like social anxiety will always be there. If you have generalized anxiety disorder, it'll always be there. Like when your brain has anxiety issues, they never really go away. They're always going to be there. but it's just developing the coping skills and the tools and medication if you need it and therapy that really ultimately helps with basically keeping that at bay so that it doesn't become debilitating, so that it also doesn't cause panic attacks. You might feel like a bit of anxiety, like, your anxiety might spike, and, you might just be like, oh, well, I'm really anxious, but, between the meds and the coping skills, like, I know I'll be okay. Whereas, like, in my case, I'm in that camp of medication doesn't really do anything, and I have to face this head on, and it's just not going that great. So I guess my advice, though, is to just not give up, because I know it's scary, and I know it's like a lot of thoughts can run through your head, and it's like you just want it to stop, and it doesn't stop. And I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat it and tell you that it's going to go away, because the unfortunate truth is it's never going to. It's like a part of you. It'll always be there forever. But again, therapy, coping skills, and if needed, medication, assuming that it works, because, there are cases where medication really just genuinely doesn't help anybody. I'm one of those examples. But just don't give up, because it's doable, and it's very exhausting, and it's a lot of work, but it is doable. I think for me, it's just a matter of my beliefs with spiritualism, metaphysical, and manifestation that kind of are getting in the way of facing that, because I don't know if facing it the way I should in therapy is actually going to make it happen, or if, because I'm speaking my fears and I don't want it to come into existence, or if, like, I get the green light from my Reiki teacher and she says that, even speaking it to give those words and fears less power isn't going to cause it to happen, then I'll be able to finally face it in therapy and hopefully get better from there. But it's been a struggle. It's been a huge struggle, but that'll be something that I keep you guys posted on. And just know that, like, if I miss a week from a podcast, it's typically because either A, I genuinely forgot and got distracted by something, or B, my hypochondria is just getting the better of me and I just couldn't record. But I was able to record this. I've managed to make it to 25 minutes and 13 seconds, which again will probably be a little bit shorter because I typically edit all the little pauses out. So that way it sounds a little more fluid and a little more like consistent, rather than having like a 1 to 4 second pause. Typically I try to keep the pauses, my average pause between thoughts and words is about roughly like 1 to 1 to 3 seconds. So I usually keep the median at about like 1.5 seconds. So if a pause is longer than 1.5 seconds, I usually just bring it down to about 1.5 seconds. But yeah, so that's pretty much what's been going on in my head, and my advice on how you can deal with it. And if you guys are in a much better spot than I am more than willing to listen to any advice or tips or anything that you guys have that might be able to help me. I would greatly appreciate it, because I really don't feel like dealing with this anymore, and it's very hard. But like I was saying, I'm not going to give up so easily, but it does get very tiring and very annoying. So, but for the last like 5-10 minutes, I want to pull up a video, or I guess multiple videos. They're just going to be slapped into this video. So, that's not the right key. So I have Adobe After Effects on a monthly plan, which I kind of lucked out on because I got it for half of the monthly price, because typically the regular monthly price is $25. I got it for a steal at $12 a month. So long as I don't cancel the subscription, I get to use Adobe After Effects CC for $12 a month. So it's actually kind of nice. But what I'm about to show you guys is essentially vibrations visualized in what we call auras. You know, if any of you guys have played anything or have watched any anime, or, you know, even have read any books that mention aura, typically it's a visual, like, I guess, visual representation of vibrational frequency. So the first one that I'm going to have up here, this one is literally just a singular color aura, which is typically what most people that can see auras will see, is typically like one color. So it'll just be like the one color, and typically the different colors kind of denote different, like, I guess, different things, like moods. Well, specifically moods, I guess. And then if you look at this next one that I'm putting up, this next one is a two-toned aura, because sometimes your aura can have multiple colors. So it is possible that there could be two things going on at the same time. But more often than not, typically those colors will just blend and make a new color. But sometimes you can actually see the two individual colors that make up those colors. And then the next one, I know that there are some places that say that, like, they can capture auras via, like, pictures. I know a couple people that have had that done, so sometimes it'll look like this. So it'll be like multiple colors. So since Adobe After Effects only let me do up to 4 colors, this is only 4 colors, but sometimes, you know, it can be several colors. So it is possible. And then the last one, and this is going to be kind of a little bit of a different shift in how this looks, because the first 3 are on a black background so that you can actually see the colors. This one is going to be different because I'm going to use a little bit of a brighter color, and then I'm going to have a specific color that won't show up because of the dark background. So it's going to be on a white background. So if you got the brightness turned up on your screen or on your monitor, I would turn down the brightness a little bit because it's going to be a white background. But this is basically what it looks like when you have any sort of blockage in, like, your aura, or in your, like, basically like in your chakras. If you don't really typically believe in, like, the chakra system, essentially any sort of blockage. So, like, example, like, it could be like your anxiety flaring up. Like, this is what you might see during, like, someone having a panic attack. And it's just kind of like, you can kind of see that, like, the color will denote the mood, but then it's just like, well, something's kind of blocking that. It's like, you know, it could be anxiety, it could be depression. It could just be that person is just in a bad mood because, like, they just, you know, got into a fight, or, you know, someone just really irked them. And then, of course, the last one, which is very rare, but I would assume is possible, is black, like all black. So that would just kind of denote somebody that's just a bad person in general. I have yet to see this. A majority of the time, if I ever see any sort of black in anyone's aura, it's typically because something happened. Like, they're either dealing with stuff, or dealing with anxiety, or dealing with depression, or something just put them in a bad mood. Like, they got into a fight with their significant other, or maybe they didn't get the raise that they wanted at work or something. You know what I mean? It could be anything that kind of just puts you in a sour mood. But typically it doesn't last long, because once whatever the blockage is addressed, it'll go away. So like once your anxiety calms down, or once your depression calms down a little bit, like the black will go away. But usually if someone's like a really bad person, it'll typically just be black, like all black, and it won't change. So, but that's pretty much it for auras. I just wanted to show you guys that because I thought it was really, really cool. But if you guys are ever wondering, like when you sense something, like those quote unquote vibes that you feel from somebody, typically that's what you're feeling. You're actually feeling that energy. So it's always good to know, because like once you start kind of realizing what you're feeling vibrationally from somebody, like what kind of vibes they give you, you kind of start to learn how to kind of feel out their energy, and then it kind of allows you to kind of realize like when there's something off about somebody, and you can't really put your finger on it. More than likely what you're sensing could be that that person has a blockage, or maybe that they were just put in a bad mood, or you're sensing their anxiety or their depression, or something that might be going on that's causing them to essentially like fake that they're okay, like that they're doing okay when they're not. So if for whatever reason you can see auras, hopefully that kind of helps you. Everybody sees them differently. Some people see it like the example that I showed, and then I'm going to put up the example of how I see them, which is like, so it's literally just partial, and it'll just be in random spots. And typically it'll only like linger for maybe a second or two, and then it'll just kind of disappear. So it's like very brief. As a side note, they do say, scientifically speaking, that if you see auras, that's actually really bad. That means that there's something wrong with your vision. But generally speaking, when you see auras, it tends to be brief for only like a few seconds. Like anywhere from like 2 to 10 seconds, and then it just kind of fades. Some people have the ability to do it at will. Other people, like me, it's just random. So, but anyway, that's pretty much going to do it for me. This recording's almost 36 minutes. It'll probably be a little bit shorter than that. So, first of all, yay, I actually made it. This was like my 5th attempt at recording, and I actually finally made it to the end, so I'm proud of myself. So now I get to edit the audio and slap the videos together and make this episode, and I will continue to push past my health anxiety as I'm doing this, so then that way I can get this out for you guys tonight. But as always, I can't stress this enough. I love doing this. I know it's not super popular right now, but if you're watching this in the future, it means a lot that you came back and actually, watched the series from the beginning and have watched me kind of slowly start to grow by doing this. It means a lot. And I just love being able to help people out and share my experiences and, things that have helped me, or even asking you guys for your opinions on things that have helped you, because I'm not, and I'll say this, I'm not a know-it-all. So like, if I can't figure something out, maybe there's something that you guys know that I don't, that might help me. So, it's greatly appreciated. If you guys like the video, make sure drop a like, subscribe. If you haven't yet, turn on the notification bell. That'll give you an alert whenever I upload a new episode of the podcast. And again, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.